Woke supremacy
Effectively
news.
banned just 24 hours ago. Friday, Governor Jim Justice signed a law banning all abortions with narrow exceptions for sexual assault or for cases where the mother's health is at risk, but only within the first 8 weeks of pregnancy for adults. The Women's Health Center of West Virginia, however, not closing its doors despite ending abortion care earlier this week. West Virginians now forced to travel out of state to seek the reproductive care they need, which is becoming increasingly hard to do because new analysis from Axios finds 18 states now ban or restrict abortion access, while the courts are blocking abortion bans in 4 other states. Let's bring in Katie Quinones. She is the executive director of Women's Health Center of West Virginia. Katie, thank you for taking the time to be with us. After the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, you knew this day was coming. What do you make of this new law, and what are you hearing from providers and from people seeking care in your state?
Yeah, so while this is certainly not a surprising moment, it is still an absolutely devastating moment. You know, this is part of a calculated decades-long effort by the forced birth movement to dismantle access to abortion and brinkley contraception so that they can ultimately maintain power and control over West Virginians. We know that West Virginians do not actually want abortion bans, that the majority of West Virginians actually want access to abortion to continue in their state and believe that politicians should not be inserting themselves in medical decisions that should be taking place between a patient and a clinician. I was one of the staff who had to make phone calls to patients that were on the schedule for this week and in the coming weeks. And we heard frankly devastating stories. People asking, why is this happening? How can this be possible? I have no idea what I'm going to do. Where am I going to go? We heard from teenagers who had appointments scheduled. One person was 16 years old and began crying on the phone and said, I have no idea what's happening. Can I please hand the phone to my mom so you can explain it to her? Another patient was 14 years old who had an appointment scheduled, and she was at school when she received her phone call and said that she needed to call us back when she got home after she got off the bus so that she could be with her mom while we tried to help her navigate this new situation.
And when you're talking about helping people navigate the situation, walk us through what that looks like if you live in West Virginia. Where are you then going to seek care?
So what we are telling all West Virginians is that if you need an abortion, you can go to abortionfinder.org. You enter in your zip code where you're located, your last menstrual period, and your age, and then that generates a list of your nearest out-of-state clinics. We know that now that unfortunately West Virginians are going to be forced to travel hundreds to thousands of miles away from their homes, from their communities to access this very safe and routine health care, that's going to incur a lot of additional costs, such as travel with fuel, gas, things like that, lodging if you have to stay overnight in the city where you're traveling to, and childcare, because we know that the majority of people who are seeking abortion care are already parents themselves. So if you are someone who needs help paying for your abortion, if you need help paying for the travel, lodging, or childcare costs that now come along with that, you can go to abortionfunds.org. You select the state where you live and the state that you're traveling to for abortion care, and a list of abortion funds, which these are independent nonprofit mutual aid funds that have been organizing for decades to help people get abortion care that they need. They can help you with resources to get your abortion.
Right, because first you have to find somewhere where you're actually able to access this service. Then you need to find the funds in order to secure that service. And then you got to figure out the rest of your life, whether you have to take time off from work, time off from school, whether you need a family member or loved one to come and do that with you. This is deeply, deeply complicated. We have talked, sadly, to providers in Kansas. We have talked to providers in Tennessee about how this is, yes, happening nationwide, but it's also really specific to the states that you are each in. In 2020, West Virginia ranked 48th in the nation for women of working age living in poverty. Nearly 1 in 5 women in your state also live below the poverty line. Talk to us. I mean, how does the lack of reproductive care, reproductive freedom impact families in your state uniquely?
Yeah, so actually, since that data came out, we've actually slipped, and for women living in poverty in our state, the consequences of being denied an abortion don't only impact the person who needs abortion care. You know, nearly 16% of West Virginians are living below the poverty line right now. We currently rank 49th in the nation for women living in poverty. You know, we know that people who can't get the abortions that they seek, they face economic hardship, which can last for years. You know, we have the data to back this up. Being denied an abortion lowers a person's credit score. It makes them more likely to increase the level of debt that they have, as well as increase their likelihood to face eviction or bankruptcy. You know, people who can't get an abortion are more likely to stay in contact with a violent partner so that the cycle of abuse within the family continues. They are more likely to raise children as single parents, and all of these factors combine to create worse childhood health and wellness outcomes ultimately. And here in West Virginia, we have one of the nation's highest rates of children living in foster care system. Our foster care system is completely overburdened right now, and we rank 45th in the nation for teen births. So I think it's very accurate to say that this abortion ban is absolutely an attack on West Virginia parents. It's an attack on domestic violence survivors. It's an attack on children. It's an attack on working class families, people of color, and so many more.
Katie Quinones joining us from West Virginia. Katie, thank you so much for being with us.